the first week, or actually the second week, we're welcoming people again after a long COVID absence. Live audience here in our venue. That's one thing. Please applaud. Just to show to you at home that we're not doing it on our own in a big venue anymore, live people, real people. But it is especially a very special moment because of this. It's the launch of this one-time beautiful magazine, Value magazine, and Value. And we talk with the people who made it, some of the people inspired it, and hopefully with you. You can participate when you log into menti.com, when you go with your phone to menti.com. You can enter the code, and perhaps we can show it on screen. And the code is 9728 5970 9728 5970. Via this code, you can ask questions to the people here at this table, and I'll try to integrate it as much as possible into the conversation. Welcome. So happy to have you here at this table right now. I have Amber Bloos, you're one of the initiators of this magazine. Girma Sagar, thank you for being here, and Mojda Veli. Thank you. You built this magazine. You've been living it for the last months, year, long time probably. How did it start, Amber? What was you started with a text message, right?
Yeah, like all good projects do, I guess. Shall I
please
read
do.
it for you?
We can show the text messages, but Amber is going to read the first phrase.
Sure. Hi, Girma. In the coming years, company New Heroes is creating several projects on the revaluation of what is valuable. One of the ideas is to create a magazine on new economies. They asked who would like to work on it, and I said, yes, me. This is important to me, because from all directions I hear increasingly loud and clear that our current system that strives for infinite growth is no longer maintainable.
That's quite a message. What did you reply?
Well, I paused for a bit.
Yeah.
No, I was pleasantly surprised because I was actually researching for myself, and it sounds really philosophical, but it is the truth. What it means to be human and how that relates to the systems, social constructs that we designed. And then I thought, wow, this is an amazing opportunity to research that, write about it, and also, reflect with each other, with other like-minded people, how they think about it.
Wonderful. We're going to talk about the whole magazine and how it all came to be, but I left out one special person. She's unfortunately not able to join us, but luckily, with the experience from the last year, we know that you can also join from France via Zoom. Melody Michel, thank you also for joining us. Can you hear me? Amazing. I see you talking, but I can't hear you right now. But I expect you said something nice. Thank you for joining us. I'll be with you when I get we heard you.
Great.
Hi, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. We'll have this conversation with the five of us, and hopefully with all of the people in the venue and all of the people watching. So for you, it started from this idea that you wanted to explore a new kind of economy. Why is this so important for you?
Well, like I said, I hear and I feel like in several ways like that the current system it's just not possible to go on this way. But when you start like what you hear about what you can do, you're usually addressed as a consumer, and I wanted to know what can I do as a human being, like so there must be more. So let's go on a journey and try to find some answers.
And can you tell a bit about your organization, New Heroes, your company?
For sure.
What is it?
Yeah, we're a creative company, and we're using storytelling and imagination in multiple ways to start the conversations about urgent topics of our times.
And is this the first magazine you made?
Yeah, it's the first one we make ourselves from scratch. Yeah.
But what other kind of forms do you use normally use?
Well, we're coming from a theater background, so performances, but also installations, documentaries, all kinds
of ways of engaging in conversations about the world of tomorrow, in a sense. Wonderful. And Cameron, did you already in connection with? Of course, you had each other's number, but you were already in proper connection with New Heroes, or?
No. Actually, we didn't have each other's number. First, we went via DM. And
Okay.
It was a text via DM.
Okay.
Via Instagram, and that. And what was the question?
Well, this was the question. If you knew each other, but you didn't, so that's quite strange. So you, from someone out of the blue, you get this very. Well, it was not a light-hearted message like, "Hi, how are you doing? Shall we meet up for coffee?" So, we want to fix the economy. So it's quite something else. So, but you were already active in this field. What kind of work do you do?
Well, I don't know if I was really active in this field, but I worked in sustainability at NS, at the Dutch Railway, and I believe that sustainable transport is a big component of a new economy. So in that way, I might have been working in the new economy. But also the campaign for the new for the Minister of the New Economy, I really got a taste of. There is a growing group of people who is becoming more aware of the economic system that we're living in and the urge for a new economic model.
And what is your view on this new economic model? What were you working on? What were you thinking about?
Well, we brainstormed with our group, with our team about this, and we came to the conclusion that we were pretty much we had the same ideas about this. And one of the most important things was that it should be there should be justice, so it should be fair. It should be a fair economic model, so an economic model that serves us, and while doing it, wouldn't be a disservice to the broader environment that it's embedded in, so the nature or resources that are used, as well as all the people that are involved in it.
And Melody, how did you get connected to this group?
Yeah, so I was connected by Mojde, actually, who's there. She was in touch with Amber, and I don't even know how they got in touch about this project. But Mojde knew that I had been looking for ways to be involved in more sustainability-related projects.
Yeah, you're a journalist, if I understand it correctly, right?
Yeah, I'm a journalist. I'm a business journalist. So she put me in touch with Amber, and it felt like the perfect fit. So that's how it started.
And why did you thought it was a perfect pick for you? What was perfect for you?
Yeah, so I'd been questioning my own career choices and my role in the world, I guess. I think people don't really take the time to pause and wonder whether the life that they're leading is actually aligned with their values. And it's very difficult to know if the values that you're abiding by and that you're embodying are actually yours. So I think it's very important to stop and make a conscious choice and have a conscious thinking session about what values you want to embody. So that's the work that I've been doing, going from, it's kind of slowly moving away from business journalism. And I had just started corporate social responsibility masters as well. So I was just kind of leaning in that direction, and value kind of pushed me even more in that direction. So it was good timing.
Amazing. And Amber, why did you decide to include the messages? Lovely for us, of course, but why did you include it in the magazine?
We found it very important that people can really come along with us on this journey, because there are a lot of books, about new economies, theories, abstract models.
Yeah.
And we don't want people to be scared away by that, but to really be able to relate, and including those messages, and also our doubts and our thoughts is a way to do that.
Amazing. Well, from people at home and people here in the venue, if you want to participate, that's possible, as I said, via Mentimeter. If you go to menti.com and then enter the code 9728 5970, and we will put it on screen later. You can ask questions to the people here. Gemma, if we look at the magazine itself, what was your goal? What was the goal with the magazine? What did you want to achieve?
Well, something that would give the reader the idea that they are really not only part of the system, but they can also influence the economic system. So really, insight into the practical side of the economy and how everybody can take their role into towards a new economy. Basically.
It's like a cookbook for the new economy, in a sense.
Yeah. Could say something like that. Yeah.
And did the message from Amber trigger you to do something like that? Is that, or would you have also written something like this without Amber?
No. It was really, it was an amazing trigger in that sense. I would have never. Well, never is a big word, but no, it was really Amber who was the initiator, and who also believed it, because I never wrote anything, so it was really also a lot of trust in it. So it was amazing.
Thank you. And Mesta, how did you get connected with this project?
Well, I knew Amber. We were friends. We knew each other
We were
before.
friends. So you did have each other's number, yeah?
Yes, we did have each other's number, and she knows that I was always very outspoken about how the capitalist system is broken and leads to inequality. So I think this is one of the reasons that she texted me as well.
Yeah.
And she knew that I was a writer and an editor, so this is how we connected. And when it comes to the values, it's definitely one of my proudest moments in my career, for sure.
I can imagine. It's amazing. I love your, again, on the theorist thing. Perhaps it says something about how you work, but hey, it's your editor. Can we write properly even though we're texting? I cannot stand the idea of having texting errors in magazine, so I'll be correcting your messages in spelling and grammar too. So thank you so much. It's amazing. What was your role beyond text control? But what was your role for the magazine?
Well, there's a piece in there, a couple of pages with book recommendations. I studied literature, so fairly soon me and Amber decided that there should be a book review section, which we collectively worked on.
Yeah, why books?
Because I think that books are the gateway to knowledge. And even though we wanted to make it practical, we also wanted to give people somewhere to continue after the magazine. So once you're done reading the magazine, you can see which books speak to you and continue your search there. Or there are also other options to continue, but this was my way of
guiding people
yes.
and to go further into the knowledge. What kind of books how did you select the books?
Well, that was quite some work. It was a team effort. We made a long list. All of us pitched books that we knew or searched for. And then basically we decided together what would make the book review section most diverse and have practical books, things that have been implemented like the donut economy, or less practical, more theoretical books like Piketty or...
Wonderful. And did these books, did you read them especially for this magazine, or did you already read it?
Well, I have to say I didn't read them alone.
Yeah.
We divided the work. Everyone read 2 or 3 books. And everybody handed in their notes, and then we worked on making a nice book review out of it. So yeah, does that answer your
And
question?
I guess, yeah. And did it change your view of the economy? And perhaps that's also a good question for Melody and the other two here. But did it change your view?
Definitely.
In what sense?
One of the books that isn't here on the table, but it's called Change Everything.
Yeah.
Amber read it, and the basic idea of it, very shortly, is that you have to change the whole system and go towards the economy of the common good, in which sustainability, justice, equality are central. So that really made me realize that you cannot change one part of it. You have to change everything, like the title says.
And Melody, did you participate in the book reading?
Yeah, of course. We
What
all
book-
participated.
What book was most, pointy for you? What did you really
Yeah.
trigger you?
I think of the books that are included in there, the one that marked me the most is called AI Superpowers. It's about the development of AI technology and how that's going to change society entirely. It's really interesting because it just tells you a lot about the power dynamics that are at play when it comes to AI development between countries and between companies. It also gives you a bit of a dystopian idea of what the future could look like if we leave, AI development to continue the way it is going at the hands of large corporations. But it also gives you a bit of an alternative as well as to the positive changes that it can bring to our society if, robots do a lot of the works, and then we humans can just take care of each other and the planet, and we can just have a more collaborative economy.
Amazing. So we had all these books, you put it in here, you made this beautiful magazine, and now you're presenting it. Is there going to be a second edition?
No,
No?
well, maybe.
Well, we said we should
Is that
do.
news? I thought it was.
Well, there is a note about it at the end. We were thinking, it was actually Girma's idea, who said we should do another edition in 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
Also to stimulate the long-term thinking and acting that is needed in a new economy, I think, and to check if all these great ideas and
If they came true.
yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, every 10 years a magazine. It's something different than a weekly, but it sounds like a good plan. Where can we buy it? Of course, here, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But where else? For the people at home, the magazine?
This is, I think, a question
online at companynewheroes.com. You can order it. We ship internationally, so.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah. And people can, we put it on the screen so you can go to the right website. Thank you so much. And I would love to talk longer with you. I think we have a few more minutes, because these books, I love the idea of you having this almost homework to people, bringing this homework. Yeah, thank you so much. That is really good. Let's go to the next session, and that is a wonderful part of poetry pre-recorded by Mary Zamabin via Zoom. We had connection with her earlier this week, so let's have a look.
Hi everyone, my name is Mary, and I wrote a poem for Value magazine, and tonight I would like to share that with you. Connect the dots. The borders of Europe color red. Personal belongings reach the shore as the ocean takes no prisoners. How much for a life? His hands were the last thing you kissed. Tomorrow, trees will stand tall as the soil that births life is consumed by wildfire. Man measures the loss of profit. How much for nature to continue life? At night, you hear the birds wail. You tell me the moon controls tides, how the sun is slowly dying and still radiates to nurture the living. Galaxies illuminate the law of divine oneness. There is no real separation, only man-made steel and paper, making us forget that we are all made from the same stardust. Ground us when I reach for the sky. Put your hands on my skin as you breathe through me. I yearn to belong and be part of all that transcends the material. how much for man to value life? Everything is everything. Thank you.
Much. I think we can have an applause for both the creation of the magazine, but also for this. Amazing, thank you. We are joined by Klaas van Egmond. You're a professor at the University of Utrecht. Thank you for joining us today. This is not the first time you're here, but I'm very happy here again. You're here because Girma interviewed you. And I'm quite curious, why Klaas, Girma?
Why not? No.
True.
No, you wrote Klaas van Egmond wrote a book about the values of Europe and the history of it and how it changed over time. And we got to know each other in the run-up for the Minister of the New Economy during panels at Pakhuis de Zwijger. And during our research for Value magazine, I understood more and more how those, I sensed that that values were playing a huge role in the new economy and the economy now. So I thought, why invent the wheel again, and why not just interview somebody who did tons of research towards this subject? You
did do tons of research, and you wrote many books, and you had many talks about this subject. Last we talked, well, not me, but my colleague Natasha, here in Pakhuis, we talked about the value of money. Why is this so important in the topic of new economies?
One of the central problems in our economy is economic growth. Of course, we have all these discussions about the donut economy. And I started my career in 1972 when we had to report the limits to growth of the Club of Rome. Yes. And it's all about the limits of the fiscal system. We cannot, in a finite world, you cannot grow infinitely in an economic sense. So there has to be done something. We have to go to a stabilized, stationary economy. And one of the big drivers in this whole system, apart from the very skewed value orientation we have nowadays, the big driver in the economic system is the financial system. Yes. For more and more, and you can learn it here in Amsterdam. For there are many young people here in this room, they might be looking for a house here in Amsterdam, and it's completely impossible. And the reason for this is that there is a financial system which has become an end in itself. It's not a means up to the economy, a means to give you a living or a house or something like that. But it's an end in itself to make money with money. And then you have the problem we are facing here in Amsterdam and in the world as a whole. Making more money with money brings about all this short-term orientation in the economic growth, and that implies that we are just robbing the earth of its resources. We are take the discussion of hoogovens, Tata Steel here nowadays in IJmuiden in the Netherlands. We are just doing everything for more material stuff. Yes. And that obsessive orientation is the problem. So the financial system is the crucial driver in the whole thing. My position is when we want to change the economy, we have to change its financial system, and then we will solve 90% of the problem.
That is it's quite a statement. So your the text message from Amber to Girma as from all directions are here increasingly loud and clear that the current system that strives for infinite growth is no longer maintainable. Yeah. And you said that's something you've been believing in, trying to work towards since 1972. But when you look at it like this seems like something new, but it's far from new.
In 72, this Club of Rome people, Dennis Meadows, for the first time came across the idea that there are limits to growth. That was his work was called that way. So since then there is this debate. But my generation, the last 50 years, has done nothing to solve the problem. For the domination of the economic system and the interests there, vested interests are most important. There's Jared Diamond. He's also writer of one of these famous books. He was saying that all these civilizations who are facing this problem, they solve the problem coming. They solve what's going wrong. But the older generation, my generation, with vested interests, did not allow the younger generation to adapt. So that is the problem for 50 years. And of course, this problem is rephrased and restated time and again in new paradigms, in new views. For example, the donut, which is a restatement of the initial statement of the limits to growth. But every generation, I like these type of books, for every generation has to reinvent and reformulate the problem in their own nowadays terms. But the problem is still there, and we still have the same solutions to find as we did in '72.
Yeah, and Germa, you had more of these kind of lessons. He wants to collect all these kind of lessons. Could you say a bit about the other ones?
Yeah. Well, first off, so these lessons that we gathered were. First, our team, we were talking about what we got taught in school about the economy,
infinite growth,
but also that the economic laws are such as the laws in physics, so they're written in stone. There's nothing to do about it. And when we started living more and more, started living in the economy after school, etc. We already lived in the economy, but then you're really participating in a different way. We noticed that first, the things that we learned didn't always reflect reality, and the things that we did learn, such as infinite growth, did reflect reality in a sense that the economy is built around it, but it shouldn't reflect it, so it should change.
Yeah.
And so we wondered what were those, what were the economic lessons that we didn't have, but that we wanted to have. And we decided that we asked that to everybody that we talked to, including Professor Klaas.
Yeah, amazing. You wrote this book. Again, we've been talking about it before, but you wrote this book. It's quite an amazing book. Moral Compass for a New European Renaissance. Why? And a very beautiful picture of Da Vinci.
Truffian man, yes.
Why this picture? Why this subtitle?
The whole idea of values, the idea is that the problems we are facing is due to the fact that our value orientation in society is becoming extreme time and again over the centuries. You should realize at this very moment there are civilizations, think of the Afghan discussion and Islam, where the religion, so the non-materialist values are dominating. And the collective structures, they are the collective values are important over there. Here with us, we are on the contrary, we have a materialist orientation. We are obsessed with stuff, with cars, with iPhones, iPads, iMacs, all things. And that orientation is the problem, the one-sidedness. And the obsession is the problem. And in the Renaissance period, they were able to have a balance between all these type of values. And the whole clue of the thing is that we have to avoid these obsessions. So all this marketing, why are we marketing commercials against children, for example, to consume more sugar? It's complete nonsense. So there has been instruments installed in society, and that's not so difficult as it seems to be, to balance these values more. Somewhere in balance with material things and non-material things in our culture, in our society, for example. The individual orientation and the collective. The individual is dominating obsessively, and when that is rebalanced, then we'll have the real solution. And the discussion about that financial system a few seconds ago is the same story. We have the problem now that private banks are printing our money, and they are printing too much money, and that's the reason why the houses in Amsterdam are so expensive. Yes. So when we should bring that back again from that moral system, which implies the going back to the Renaissance, then private banks don't print the money anymore. We all together, as a people, the government is printing the money in limited amounts and directed to housing in Amsterdam, not directed to making more money with money.
So it is, I'm sorry, my...
Shall I ask a question in between?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So maybe what could be interesting, we talked about that value system and about how we can participate, how we can live consciously towards our values, in line with our values. And you said something in that conversation, how you did that. So when riding the train back home, you would think of what you have done, etc., etc. Could you tell a little bit more about that? How you check if you lived by your values?
Or as an individual.
Yeah, maybe it might be. It might make it a little bit more concrete.
Oh no, yeah, you can always have a reflective look on what you are doing every day, why you did it. I have indeed the habit when at the end of the day to look back and ask for myself in a few seconds with a glass of beer, why did it today what I did? Why did I go to Pakhuis de Zwijger today? What was my drive to go there? Did it make sense? Was it of some help for what? For who? For whom? For me? And all when you're doing that, then you will rediscover that a lot of things doesn't make sense. You don't need them. You don't need the latest iPhone. You don't need the bigger car or more money. It's all relative. And exercising that, what are the real values in life? Don't forget that many philosophers are saying we are the values we have. So when you are looking what kind of values do I have, you will become a little bit by bit, day by day, and I hope a better person.
So when you're looking at the Renaissance, which means rebirth, it's the idea that we reintroduce other kinds of values, non-touchable,
more balanced.
Yeah.
The only
so
question,
this is about the balance.
The only question at the end of the day is, who are we? And if we have some idea of who we are, so that needs a philosophical debate or cultural debate, then we know what we are going to be, how we should organize our society in order that we can become who we are. That is the essence of the story. So the discussion about values, that's the reason why I'm here today. The debate about values is the most essential thing. From there, the economy is a means to realize our values, not the other way around.
So the values are the world of tomorrow should be inclusive, just, work for us all should be beautiful, all these kinds of things. And when you have that, you go to a different kinds of look on the economy.
Yeah, and organize the economy as an end to as a means to this end.
Yeah. And to go to the Hooghoven Stata Steel in Amsterdam, there is this steel mill outside of the city next to this ocean. And there's a big discussion about the pollution from the steel mill. So if you look at that discussion, you would say, and I'm trying to see if I get it correctly, you would say, in the old way of thinking, this mill makes money and people work there, so we should accept that people get sick. And in the new thing, we shouldn't accept that people get sick because we need a healthy society.
Sure, and then you might have less steel.
Yes.
But we are discussing for 50 years circular economy.
Yes.
Nothing happened in the policy making about circular economy. But if we are going to do what, for example, Mansholt, 50 years ago, a famous Dutchman, thought and said that we should have a longer lifetime of materials we are using. So use your iPhone longer. Don't throw away your car too easy. Then we need less steel. So it's all coupled together. When we are having a longer lifetime elongation of things, of stuff, we need less stuff. So that is the most very simple thing in circular economy. But we don't do that given the financial interests which are there to throw away this microphone after today. And if we would use it longer, we need not another 10 microphones.
It makes sense. Kirma, was this new for you? I don't think it was, but was it new for you? And why did you come to the idea of the values? What does that mean to you?
Which part new?
His story.
That everything.
His discussion. Was it a surprise when you read this book? Was it a surprise to you?
Yeah, there were things that I didn't know, of course, but it was more of things that you sense, but you couldn't put the words yet, and then you saw it written, and you saw somebody who was a professor, so he might know a thing or two, and then you really put the puzzle, put the pieces where it belongs. And one of the things that also really reflects our journey is that we discovered that everything has to do with everything. So what Professor Klaas just said about the hoogovens, you need less. You also need less steel. You need a different way of living, etc. That's what we found out as well. We thought we're writing about the economy, but then we thought, okay, so even a concept like time, for example, is something that should really be thought about, and see how do we value time. To link it with, for example, public transport sustainability, where I worked in before, is if we say, okay, we're going more and more with public transport, even though it takes more time to go where we go, and thus we will do less things in one day. It means that we not only travel differently, but it also means that we're doing things differently and maybe even less. So it touches upon all things in our lives.
What would you hope that people will do after reading this magazine?
That they will be able to find the right solution to the fact that what Girma is saying, that it in a few, at this very moment, we are facing an perfect storm of an accumulation of all sorts of trouble we were expecting for 50 years.
Yes.
And it's all happening now. I've worked my whole lifetime on climate change. It's happening outside exactly as the researchers of this world altogether, 30,000, thought it would happen. So it's all there. The nitrogen problem, the financial problem, the COVID problem. So everybody it's clear now that there is a huge problem and that the next generation has to solve it. And I hope that this magazine, this value magazine, will bring younger people on the idea that the only way out is not having more policy making in The Hague. It doesn't work out. It's no surprise that it doesn't work out. For there only a debate, a master plan which is dealing about what kind of values do we have and what kind of values do we want to realize. That debate has to take place in The Hague at this very moment. And then there are very nice solutions. We have them ready, actually, in which we could move as a country or as Europe. Melody was here a few seconds ago. I'm fond of the President of France, Mr. Macron. Yeah. He is having a vision on how to do that. And he's the only one, and I hope that our Prime Minister will be willing, at the end of the day, to follow this very good ideas of Macron on the subject.
So really change things. But it is difficult to talk about values because people mean very different things about values. And that's why I try to ask that. And you can say, you mentioned, of course, Afghanistan. They have a completely different set of values than we're talking about. But also people who would not necessarily would go as fast with climate change or adapting climate change, or people who would not go along with your ideas about.
I won't make it too complicated. For what happens is that there is in philosophy is the debate between I am here and you are there. Yeah. And the other debate is this is material stuff, and there are also things that are not material, they are ideas. And the whole idea in philosophy of 2,000 years of philosophy is that indeed there is a synthesis is possible. I can realize, I can be aware of the fact that although I am a part of a larger whole, my real being is not only in my own body, but I'm part of the community at the same time. And after some experience, when you are listening to music together with other people, for example, you can feel something like that. So there is a state of mind in which you realize that you are an individual person and part of a larger whole. And that feeling is completely gone in our days. Everybody is his own individual. What's in for me is the only question. So bring a culture in which there is something in between us. Then when there is a culture that matter is not only real, not only important, but also this ideas, music, culture, religion, spiritual values. When we are able to balance that in our own satisfaction, then we are connecting the religious countries in the world with the materialist ones. the very religious countries like the Islam, they are exaggerating that value. We are on the other end of the whole story, exaggerating the materialist orientation, and the twain will never meet. So that's the problem. We have to work on a shared value orientation, that there is both a religious reality and a material one. And the only thing is that you have to realize it at the same time. Mr. Rutte has to realize that there is the individual in our society and there is the community. The Green Left are saying we are working for the community, and the Rutte and the Liberals are saying we are working for the individual. And they don't seem to understand that it can only work at the same time. You cannot be an individual without being a felt part, a psychological part of the community, and the other way around.
So you're not a fan of the phrase Holland Incorporated?
Of what?
Holland Incorporated, Nederland BV.
No. I'm a fan of a Europe Incorporated to start with.
Oh, really? But then I was referring to the idea that a country is like a company instead of a country is like a democracy.
Sure.
Yeah. Let's skip that. I don't think it will.
Let's go for a Europe, which at least all the last sentence then. What I'm saying is not new. It's not from 72. It's not recently. It's the last 2,000 years in this part of the world. Everything we are discussing now has been discussed. We only have to reinvent it, and that cultural heritage, which is there on a European scale at least, could be mobilized to solve these problems. And the crucial word in there is value.
Amazing. We have a few questions from the audience, both at home and here. How do you see the European expansion and the proto-capitalist consisting of a colonialism and slavery that started the Renaissance and the balance system we talked about? How do you see the European expansion and the proto-capitalism consisting of colonialism and the slavery that started the Renaissance and balance system we talked about? I don't think I completely understand the question, but
I think I do.
You do? Yeah. Okay, sorry.
It's a mistake. The Renaissance was a very nice period in which we have all the humanists. We have the Erasmus, Montaigne, Shakespeare, not to forget, and there was a balance in this value orientation.
Yes.
And then suddenly the Pope became aware of the fact that they were not listening to the Catholic Universal Church, and he came over the Alps and started the 30 Years' War, the most horrible war ever in Europe. 1/3 of the population was cruelly killed. So the Renaissance ended by the existing system. We ended it, and then we went back via Descartes to rationalism and things like that. And that was not the Renaissance. That was a retake of the earlier one-sided thinking. And then the technology started, and we were able to conquer the world.
Yeah.
And now, in these days, we are still conquering the world, not by arms or by machinery or by ships, by money. My favorite statement is, we used to conquer Africa, and now we are buying it with the money we have printed yesterday in Amsterdam.
And let's go to the next question. The largest political parties don't seem to welcome sustainability change in the system. Would you envision convincing the public of the importance of these changes so that they can vote differently? Because I can understand the question in that sense. Because to me, when we talk about the financial system and you add to that, talk about value or balancing it with religion or balancing it with different kinds of looking to the world or more intrinsic things, that seems like a hard sell at the Zuidas or at the Wall Street.
Yeah, the funny thing is that Aristotle, 2,000 years ago, he's the founder of all the thinking, had the same problem. And he said, forget about this balancing, complicated. Just look at the extremes. What's going completely out of touch when you want to balance something? The idea is that the financial system here in Amsterdam, the Zuidas, is 2.5, 3 times too big to be useful for the Dutch economy. The financial system in the Zuidas has a negative contribution to the Dutch economy. So when we should reduce the activity over there, we are better off in many senses. So you should eliminate the extremes. And when you are doing so, you also find yourself more or less in the middle.
Well, thank you so much, Girma. What did you learn from this interview? Well, you know Klaas, when he starts talking and he brings all these new ideas and new questions, I start learning right now, or start processing. What happened with you?
Well, it was also very confronting because, you get to know how much these values play a role on an individual level, even so. Even the small things, just as Professor Klaas just said, after this session, he will go back with the train or whatever and think, okay, why was I here? But if you do it yourself and think, okay, why am I doing what I'm doing? Is that in line with my values? That's very confronting, because sometimes you have to say to yourself, this isn't in line with my values, or my values aren't right.
Yeah. But that is the difficult thing. How do you decide which values are right and which values are not right? Because I can name a few values that I would think that are not right for society, and other people would be quite fond of it. So how do you decide between that?
Well, that's also sensing a lot. So for me, that's also a lot using, feeling and reflecting on the things that you've done in the past, how that worked out for you and how that worked out for your environment, and then for me it was the more experience I have in this world, the more my values tend to get sharper and sharper, and I feel more quicker whether or not something is in line with those values, or whether or not what I said, my values are still right, or something that I still wanted to achieve, which I also which I wrote about in the magazine. When I was young, I had very materialistic values, actually, and when I look at that, when I reflect on that now, I have different values, not because I changed them at a second, but gradually I shifted towards different values, which I think that I agree on more.
Thank you. Klaas van Egmond, thank you for engaging us and keep our brains working and try to reevaluate the economic system where we live in. And thank you for being here today. Klaas van Egmond, professor at the University of Utrecht. And we'll go back to Melody Michel in France with a poem. Melody, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Amazing, yes, I can.
Great. So yes, on top of writing a bunch of journalistic articles for Value, I also wrote this piece of text, which is called Prose of Poetry. Even before the wave was fully formed, when it was but a gathering of droplets nestled in the infinite of its mother's womb, we asked excitedly, is it a boy or a girl? As it emerged from the infinite ocean, still only just a ripple, we noticed its color, its location, its size, and began drawing destiny from database. As the wave grew bigger, changing in shape and volume, we made more pressing questions, demanded clear-cut answers. Are you gay or straight, single or married? Are you fat or slim, Christian or Muslim? Is your color white or blue? In what caste should we put you? Find a good job, you have us worried. And whether you vote left or right, make sure you hate the other side. The wave tried to fit its shapeless essence into single squares or circles. It told itself, I am one thing, and slowly the unease crept in. Was it perhaps a different wave, flawed from the start, not worthy of this world? Why was it so hard to decide one way or the other? The wave was getting bigger, traveling further, but it remained burdened by the same questions, judging every move as a right or wrong decision. Until one day, the wave began to form a curve, preparing for its downward journey. There, suspended in the air for one weightless moment, the wave looked down at where it came from, and suddenly the truth of its existence became clear. I am everything roared the wave as it came crashing. I am joy and pain and the space between. I am you, her, him, and them. I am living and I am dead. I am past and future and this very instant, godly yet insignificant. With this, the wave met the ocean, asking in a final whisper, can we find the beauty in the uncertainty?
Thank you. Please give them a warm applause. We're almost at the end of this launch of the volume of the magazine, and we're almost celebrating that you can buy it, run to the shops or to the website and order it. The thing I was thinking about the whole discussion we just had with Klaas van Egmond, it is very hard to have good values or to know which values are good. What did you learn in this process, Amber? Did you change your mind on these kind of things? Because
I learned a lot about many things, and not only about new economies. But for me, it's not so much about what are the right values or what is good or wrong. It's more about the searching and doing that together and keep asking questions together. And I think like one of my biggest takeaways is also at the beginning, to be quite honest, I thought economy, I don't have a lot with that subject. It's quite boring. I don't know a lot about economy. And actually we kept hearing the economy is us, the economy is you, and the economy is based on our decisions and on what we want to make of it. So yeah, we can reshape it.
Is it fair to say that the magazine, or you try to engage us and make sure that we keep on thinking about why we do things and make it a more holistic approach? Mm-hmm. Is that what you wanted to do? Yeah, for sure. Why is this so? So it changed your view on economics, and it changed your view on how to think about these kind of topics. But how do you make sure that people don't enter things that is not? How do you decide what values are right then? That is what I find so triggering or so interesting in this discussion.
I don't decide what values are right. I can only share what my
just your perception.
Yeah.
As we all can. Thank you so much. And Girma, did you have any other takeaways or new experiences because of writing this magazine?
Well, yeah, one of the takeaways I got was the importance of collaboration, not only in the economy but also in the projects such as this. As I said, I was finding out for myself what it means to be human. Said I'm still doing that. I didn't find it out yet. But now I collaborated with people and also in a way that I never did before. Yeah. And I really, we also found out that one of the key components of a new economy is collaboration instead of competitive culture that is now really ingrained in the old economy. So the importance of collaboration and also being vulnerable or being willing to be vulnerable in that process, I found, it's something that I discovered.
Amazing. Which book should we read right now? What is your absolute favorite from this that really shapes this discussion?
Well, it's certainly not the big one. That's I never finished that one. But this one, Woman on the Edge of Time, it's a fictional book. It's the only fictional book that we incorporated. And it's my favorite book of all time, basically. And the way I see fiction, it's a experiment. You can do a thought experiment without leaving your chair, basically. So if you feel like, what would a new economy look like? What could an equal society look like? I definitely recommend reading this book. It's a utopian novel in which Marge Piercy has thought it all out for you. So you don't have to do it. You can just sit there, relax, and enjoy and see what a post-gender, post-capitalist, environmentally friendly world looks like.
Let's do that after, of course, you've read the magazine. And Melody, the last question for you. Did you feel overwhelmed writing this? And did it change your perception on these values?
Yes, I felt overwhelmed a lot of the time. Because once you start digging, you basically never stop. You start to figure out one thing, like, for example, I wanted to start with the financial sector because it's something that I know about, or technology, for example, and you start to figure out what it would look like, what needs to change in that sector, and then you realize everything is linked to everything, and then you realize it's also an extremely personal journey. So it was very overwhelming, to say the least. But I think what I learned from the process is how good it feels to work on a project professionally that is aligned with your values. And this is what I wanted to say to when you asked Amber, how do you know what values are right or wrong? I think that's what you need to ask yourself. How does it feel? Like, that's how it starts. It starts with discomfort at doing something that's not aligned with your values, and then you can start to question, okay, but what are my values then?
Thank you. The floor is yours, Amber. You prepared a thank you and a proper lounge moment. It's almost there. Go ahead.
Girma, you just mentioned this as well, but also for me, I really experienced the new economic trade of collaboration in the process of making value. I started about 9 months ago, alone, scared, behind my laptop, and now we're here, all together, celebrating our baby. So I definitely learned you can't make a baby alone. So before I say my word of thanks, I wanted to share one more new economy lesson that we collected, if I may. This is one by Sarah Jensen, who works in cooperative education, and she told me about a game she plays with her students called Win As Much As You Can. And as soon as her students hear that name, they started competing against each other until they realized that the only way to win the game was to work together. All right, then on to the official thanks. I feel super grateful that I got to work with all these amazing people. Thank you, Lucas and Isel and New Heroes for your encouragement, trust, and tireless creative advice. Melody, Girma, Mojde, I really don't know how to thank you enough for joining me on this adventure and putting your hearts and souls into it. Rose and Yifan, you literally added color and style and so many layers to value, so thank you. Siu Yang, we're honored that you wanted to create illustrations to go with the new economy lessons that we collected. They're super powerful. We just saw 2 today on screen, but well, in a minute you can see more. Godelieve, keep creating space for new economies and let's draw many more together. And then there are 3 people who especially helped me keep my sanity throughout the process. Jente in the beginning, Carlijn in the middle, and Elise at the end of the journey, or towards the end. Tamara, thanks for reminding us of our value and for your help with making sure we also got paid some old school money. Luc, thanks for jumping in towards the end with a fresh pair of eyes. Many, many thanks to all our guest contributors and the people we interviewed for adding your knowledge, experience, and creativity to value. And we're sure never forget you, our early adopters, our 140 crowdfund supporters. Last but not least, I'd also like to thank the organizations and the people behind them that supported us. Verelie and Maaike of the Rabobank Art Collection. You already supported us even before the concept was finished. And your only demand, don't create a standard glossy, create a relevant artistic publication. Well, you can tell us in a minute if we succeeded. Astrid of the province of North Brabant, you're super passionate about building new economies and practice what you preach is exactly what you do both at the province and beyond. We're also honored to be supported by Doen Foundation. Steve, I think he's here. It's the most fitting fund as you support many initiatives and people working on new economies. All right, to all people who contributed in one way or another, we value you. I think it's time for a toast. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for this, because I have to be honest, I'm quite fond of you for making this. Thank you so much, and making today possible to really engage in creating knowledge and having this discussion about a new kind of world. Thank you. And cheers to this wonderful publication, and congratulations on your work.
Cheers.
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 I will drink later. Cheers. This was the presentation of the Value magazine. Again, where can we buy it? Because it's still the economy.
Yeah. It feels very
I know.
contradictory. CompanyNewHeroes.com. Yeah.
Amazing. Also from New Heroes is the theatre performance tonight here in Pakhuis, but also the rest of the week. Robin, do have a look. And I'm looking at Noor. Is it still possible to buy tickets? It is. So go to deswager.nl and join us tonight, or tomorrow night, or later this week. We have, of course, everything here. Thank you so much for joining us. I think that's the end of the programming. This was Pakhuis de Zwager. Very happy to be back with people live in the venue itself. Something to get used to again. I have to remember to ask people to clap for at the right moment. In the past, it wasn't possible to do that because there were only 1 or 2 people in the room. All our programming is always free of charge, because how does democracy work when you have a price tag for discussions or for joining discussions? If you want to join or help us doing that, there is a way via the Page You Like button. We'll share that in a bit via a QR code. You can give a bit of money to Pakhuis de Zwager to continue making these kind of programs, but you don't have to. The good thing is we have a treasure chest full of beautiful programming from the last 1.5 years, but also before that. All free of charge. Have a look at it at deswager.nl and have a look at the programming that's upcoming. All, again, for free. Have fun, have a nice day, and thank you so much for joining us today. Bye.
Boy.